Good evening and warm welcome to the live mental health session. Here I am to hear you. Today we are celebrating National Doctors Day to mark the importance of doctors in our lives and to respect their invaluable contribution in saving lives. This year, in 2020, the significance of doctors has increased as we all know that our doctors help us to fight against the pandemic COVID-19. So PCR Chembur salute all the doctors who come with their magical power to heal each one of us. So we have two promising and leading psychiatrists from Mumbai, Dr. Vivek Chincholkar and Dr. Sheryl John Senthilnathan. Hi and good evening, Dr. Vivek and Dr. Sheryl. Dr.
Good
Vivek
evening.
is an associate professor, Department of Psychiatry, Kalwa Hospital, and Dr. Vivek is again a consultant with Jupiter Hospital, Thane. Dr. Sheryl John Senthilnathan is a consultant psychiatrist with Hiranandani Hospital, Hawaii, and Holy Spirit Hospital, Andheri. Good evening and welcome to PCR live show, live mental health session. Here I am to hear you. Good evening, Dr. Vivek.
Good evening. Thank you so much.
Yes, Doctor, could you give a quick brief on your expertise over the last few years as a leading psychiatrist?
First of all, let me thank Dr. Francis and Dr. Mary for inviting me to this session. And before I, start going into the subject directly, since we have a live audience and we have probably a lot of people who are joining in, I would request permission to just speak a little bit about psychiatry and a little bit about psychiatric illness, so that people
Sure,
who are
Doctor.
here can just gain a little bit of information. I
Yes,
hope that's
Doctor,
okay,
that would be
ma'am.
a that would be a great insight, Doctor.
Right.
I think there is some problem at Dr. Vivek's side. Yes. I think, Doctor, we can't hear you. There's some network issue with Dr. Vivek. Yeah, maybe then that till the time Dr. Vivek come back, we can we have Dr. Sheryl on board. Hi, Dr. Sheryl.
A very good
Hi.
evening.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Sheryl. I would request you to share, briefly about your expertise as a leading psychiatrist.
Uh, Thank you so much for having Dr. Vivek and myself here today on Doctor's Day. And thank you, PCR and Dr. Francis and Dr. Mary, for this very pertinent topic. And
Yes.
here I am to hear you. So I think it just aptly describes our role as psychiatrists, because that is what we do. We try to hear out the problems that each one of us faces regarding our thoughts and our emotions and our behavior. And like Dr. Vivek is probably going to talk about what we as psychiatrists do. So I'm in private practice and I practice at Dr. M.E.S. Hospital, Pillai, and at Holy Spirit Hospital in Delhi. And I predominantly deal with adults. I really love having these kind of interactions because this is one step in destigmatizing mental illnesses, and I'm really grateful that you have taken up the initiative to have this talk today. So thank you very much.
Yes, Dr. Sheryl, this is, I mean, we know that we are all are going through a tough times, which people have never, experienced or never even heard about it. And we PCR always come up with such relevant topic because we need to be socially connect and we should be serving our societies in what all possible ways. Okay, Dr. Sheryl, we often say that you don't have to struggle in silence. So, in this regard, what are your views on possible reasons why people go through a lot of problems? Want to go a lot of stress and strain. It's not only during this pandemic, and of course, now at this time, it's always there. But during this pandemic, it is a little more. That the intensity has gone little high. So, what are your views on it?
Yes, Dr. Mary. So, first and foremost, I would like to stress on the fact that what is the reason that we suffer in silence? So, one and the foremost thing is the stigma associated with seeking help from a mental health professional. So, right from childhood, we have these, ideas. कि पागल है क्या, तू ढीला
Yes,
है क्या,
yes,
लटके है क्या, are you crazy or what, mad or what. So we use these words in a very loose fashion, right? And also
exactly,
when we see our movies where most of us take inspiration from,
true,
they also don't show people with mental illnesses in the correct light. So
correct,
when a person expresses a desire that I'm having a problem, then it the family says, "अरे तुम्हारा सोच को बदलो, सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा."
correct,
So then you're
yes,
a little reluctant to kind of take help. But what we need to understand that our brain is like the motherboard of the computer. If your
exactly,
motherboard is not working, then your computer is not really working. And
true.
the chemicals in the brain or the neurotransmitters in the brain are the ones which are responsible. Can I have the next slide, please? Yeah. So, and the next one, please. So, the next slide, please. So it's the chemicals in the brain which are responsible for mood, for thinking, for behavior. So when you have an altercation in these chemicals, that is when you develop mental illnesses. So any mental illness is actually a physical ailment affecting an organ of the body, which is the brain. So the moment we realize that this is a physical illness and not something which you're bringing onto yourself, one very strong reason of wanting to struggle in silence will go away. The second part about what are the reasons that we undergo, these why different people have uh, psychiatric illnesses. One is if you have a genetic predisposition. That means if you have a family member, a parent, an uncle, an aunt who have any kind of psychiatric problem, then you're more prone to develop psychiatric issues. Second thing is our approach to our environmental stressors. So if you are a person who always seeing things as pessimistic, or the glass is half empty, or you're somebody who's very anxious about a particular situation, then you're more prone to develop psychiatric illness. It's like suppose you have low vitamin D or you're low calcium and you fall down, you have a higher chance of developing a fracture as compared to somebody whose levels are fine. So, when your brain chemicals go low and it starts affecting your mood, your thinking, and your behavior, that is when you develop psychiatric illnesses. So, the stigma stops you from seeking help, and also for us to understand that this is a physical ailment and not something which can be controlled by our mind or our thought process. This whole aspect of struggling in silence will be taken care of. Yes, Dr. Mary.
You have rightly pointed out, that we need to have a healthy mind. So, in this context, let me ask you, healthy mind in a healthy body. So far, it was only a saying. Now it is high time for all of us to make it as a habit. So, what are your suggestions as an individual, the environmental as well as personal changes that we need to make ourselves? One should be adopting to have a healthy mind.
So, healthy mind in a healthy body is an absolute beautiful saying. It's one of the basis of positive mental health. So, we as psychiatrists not only take care of the disorders that develop post a problem in the brain, but we're also helping nowadays to try to create a positive mental health. So, you're taking care of your environment or the approach to your environment. So, some few things which I would like to kind of talk about. Can I have the next slide? So stressors,
Right.
it
Yeah.
affects everybody, right? Now,
Yes.
that for example, the COVID-19 situation is a situation which is impacting not just for us in Mumbai or in Maharashtra or in India, right? It's all over the world. I mean, this is an exact example of how the environment is the same for everybody, but how each one of us approaches that environment is how we are going to handle that stress. So it's a very, very important saying by people. Next slide, please. So each one of us, our strengths will vary. So some of us are able to pick up 5 kgs and some of us are not able to pick up even 2 kgs of weight. And the same thing goes with stressors. Some of us are able to bear extremely difficult situations and some of us break down when we have a small stressor. The next slide, please. So what determines whether I can have a healthy mind? 50% is genetics. Then we always think that it's our external circumstances. But fortunately for us, external circumstances contribute only 10% to how we can be happy or healthy. The rest is determined by our actions and our thoughts, which can be changed and can be modified. Next.
Yes.
The next slide, please. So this is, I am sure most of the viewers must have watched both these movies. One is the movie Joker, and other is a movie called Pursuit of Happiness. And if you just remember the stories, in both the characters in the movies face very, very similar situations. Extremely difficult childhood, abusive, no money and everything. And both of them reacted to the situation in a different way. One went on a rampage and started killing people, and the other guy worked hard to kind of survive and struggle, right? And succeed.
Yes.
So how I approach a situation, that determines my healthy mind will determine how I can handle my stresses. The next. So one of the important tools for developing a healthy mind is practicing mindfulness. So if you're
Yes.
able to focus at the present moment and forget about the past or only learn from the past and not worry about the future, just focus on the present. Spend some time every day, 5 minutes a day, practicing the art of mindfulness. Next.
Yes, so it is, the mindfulness is really something that everybody should be walking out in today's world. Hi, Dr. Vivek is joined us back. Hi, Dr. Vivek.
The other aspect of a healthy mind is expressing gratitude. So if we start on a daily basis expressing gratitude, you just maintain a gratitude journal every day before you go to bed in the night. Write 2 things that you have been grateful for, or write a note to somebody that you are grateful for. It helps in improving your mind and make it more healthier. The next one. Next. Uh, According to research, it says about 10 minutes of idling, matlab not doing anything. And what happens when we don't do anything? We are either with our phone because we're just trying to catch up on our emails or on our chat or check social media. But if you're just able to keep away your phone for 10-15 minutes a day and just be, it will help in improving your mental health. Another tip is a gadget free zone. So if you can have a place in your home where you're not going to use gadgets at all, it will contribute towards a positive mental health.
Yes, doctor, that was really, so, I mean, the one which you have suggested is really workable. Everybody can follow it. It's not, something big that you have suggested. It's really, we can practice these things to keep our, the mind calm and composed. So today, if we look around, Dr. Sheryl, we are facing a lot of changes due to the lockdown and this pandemic, and people are a little upset about the social or the physical distancing. So what are the corrective measures that one should be adopting for a better future?
Correct. Can I have the next slide? So first and foremost, in accepting, in handling the situation, is accepting that this is going to be the new normal. So the most time that we deny that, okay, this is going to change and I want things to go back to how it was before, I don't like this situation, which is the more we resist the situation, the more of mental energy we are going to waste. So if we look at the bigger picture and say, okay, this is how it's going to be, and this is the new normal, because that is why everybody keeps on talking about the new normal, so that we are able to accept that this is going to be the new normal. So the first step in reducing our difficulty is acceptance. Now, social distancing does not mean, it only means physical distancing. It does not actually mean social distancing. So you can physically be away from your family, from your friends, but you can still connect, right? That is the beauty of technology today. I mean, we are having this live every session with so many viewers, which was unfathomable, unimaginable 2 years back. So we have to use this technology to our benefit. That you can have WhatsApp video calls with your family, you can have Zoom calls with the family, you can play online games, you can pick up that
Yes,
phone and speak to a friend whom you never spoke to for so many years because you didn't have the time. So this is one of
correct.
the advantage of socialization. Another aspect, can I have the next slide, is learning to practice breathing exercises. Many a times, if each one of us starts looking at the situation around, I'm going to panic, right? And my heart rate is
Correct.
going to be, oh God, ये क्या चल रहा है, you know? If we are when we are panicking or we're feeling anxious, if we're able to practice even 3 deep breaths, just breathe in and breathe out, what happens is you're regulating your sympathetic activity and reducing that hyperactivity which happens. Another aspect to the lockdown challenge. Can I have the next slide? So we have to really use this. So we are always worried that we want to have a lot of wealth, right? I want to be
Correct.
affluent,
Yes.
wealthy. Uh, this corona has given us a new concept known as time affluence. So now we have a lot of time in our hand and we are wealthy regarding time. So what do I do with this time? Can I use this time affluence more effectively? Can I sit back and plan what I wanted to do with my life? Can I, chart, think, okay, I have been doing a particular thing or following a particular career for some time. Is it good enough for me? Can I refocus, re-examine my life and, plan it in a different way or steer it towards the goals that I wanted to go? The
Yes.
next slide. A very, very important aspect is journal writing. So we can sit down every day and write about how you felt during the lockdown. What did you do during the lockdown? The things you're grateful for. Few years down the line, when you look back at this experience, it'll always be a learning for you that you survived.
True.
You're all
Yes.
things survived. And
Yes.
when we look back, these things will be, aspects of memory that we have.
True. Yes.
So first and foremost, accept the change. So this is how it's going to be, and use that time for socialization, for breathing, for journal writing. That will help you.
Yes, doctor. It is like how wisely somebody utilize the time. So as you rightly said, after a few months or maybe an year later, this pandemic, I mean, the whole the scenario will become a part of our memory. So we will, if we utilize the time wisely, I'm sure we all will be having wonderful memories in spite of the difficulties that what we are undergoing right now. So those colorful memories during this pandemic, if one really want to do it, you can create it. So that is what. And again, Dr. Sheryl, if you look at the people, and especially the spectrum of individuals that undergo the problems. We can't neglect our teenagers, our adolescents, and the young adults who undergo a lot of stress. So, what are your the comments or your suggestions to them to remain positive?
So, uh, it's what affects our children the most is the uncertainty of the situation. So there are children, especially for the ICSE board, the children who were in the 10th grade, till about a week back, they were not sure they were going to give their exams or not. So there was so
Right.
much of uncertainty. So they don't know when things are going to be okay. They don't know when they're going to meet their friends. And if the adults at home are also going to be panicking and talking about the situation in a negative way all the time, it's not going to help our children. And I think Dr. Vivek will also vouch for this fact that we are seeing so many young adults and adolescents coming and visiting us in the hospital. Like yesterday, I had a boy who had come with breathlessness. His uncle was tested COVID positive, and everybody else in the family was tested. I mean, the uncle doesn't even stay in his building; he stays 2 buildings away because there was some family member who was tested positive. Everybody in the house was discussing about it. They're looking up at the figures, you're watching the news all the time. And over a period of time, this boy started experiencing breathlessness. So everybody thought maybe he's positive. They got him to the hospital, got everything checked, went back, it's negative. But his breathlessness was not going away. And after a number of visits to the hospital, we realized it was more to do with his anxiety towards the COVID situation rather than him having develop COVID. So being anxious is one of the things that the kids are doing because of a change. So what's most important is to develop a positive mental health. And how can we do that? We can do that by developing a resilience. Can I have the next slide? So resilience means what? That you bounce back. And we as human beings have this beautiful talent. Our brain has this situation where we are able to bounce back from situations. The beauty of resilience is something that we can build. Just like if suppose I want to run a marathon, I have to start training for it. I can't decide tomorrow, okay, I'm going to start running a marathon. In the same way, and if I start exercising, start developing, I'll develop all those muscles to run the
Correct.
marathon. In the same way, resilience is something which we can build up. And how do we build resilience? Can I have the next slide? So there are four aspects to building resilience. One is self-care. Second is connection. Third is practicing mindfulness, like we spoke about. The fourth is goal setting. Next. So what happens with self-care is the next slide, please. We need to take care. Why children? When you asked about adults and adolescents, the first 1 month, most of us of the lockdown, we really kind of felt, oh, this is like absolute fun. We've got all this time in the world to be with our family. We were binging on, Netflix shows, staying up late, not sleeping really well. But that kind of causes an impact not only to our mind but also to our body. So we need to kind of say, okay, there is a lot of uncertainty in my environment. Can I do something to make things certain in my home space? So can I have a structure in my life? Can I have a fixed time to go to bed and wake up? Can I have a timetable for the day? So that I bring in structure. The next slide, please. So the next slide, please. So, what we need to do is make sure the young adults are sleeping well and not kind of chatting with their friends all night till 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, or binge watching on their various CDs that they are doing. Right? The next, please. Can I have the next slide? So, this is one very, very important factor, not only for our healthy mind, but also extremely important for our immunity. So that even if you are getting infected by the coronavirus, you're able to fight back because your immunity is strong. So sleep is an extremely important aspect. Next one.
Yes. Yes.
Can I have the next slide? Diet, maintaining a balanced diet, very important. Most of us have started doing that because now we're not eating out, we're not ordering things in, so we're kind of trying to include a good diet into our scenario. The next one. Exercise, extremely important. You need not step out of your house. There are so many videos available online. You can just watch and you can exercise about half an hour a day. This will help in reducing the anxiety. The young adults, adolescents have so much of physical energy. They're so jittery. So,
True.
and they're not allowed to step out, go for their run or play their football or play their cricket with their friends. But when they exercise, it will release all those endorphins required and kind of, can manage the situation better. Can I have the next slide? Like I said, connection. So resilience, one is self-care, connection. Next, try to have that close-knit friends of yours, who are like, हर दोस्त कमीना होता है. That kind of a thing. वो जो अच्छा कमीना दोस्त होता है, वो भी बहुत जरूरी होता है. So you are
True.
a
Very
those
true.
trustworthy, who's validating your feelings, whom you can share. You can, have a Zoom call and give all the possible galis possible together, and it makes you feel lighter and better. Right? It's one step towards developing resilience. Can I have the next slide? A very, very important aspect of building resilience and handling a crisis is goal setting. So, like I said, we have time affluence. So, we have time at our hand, and this is the right time to start setting goals for our life. The next slide, please. So the goals are important to be set in all aspects of our life. So why setting goals? There's a story about Alice in Wonderland, where Alice is come to Wonderland and she asks the cat, "Where should I go? Tell me which way I ought to go from here." And the cat says that depends a good deal on where you want to go to. And she says, "I don't care." And he says it doesn't matter which way you go. So if you don't have a destination in mind, you're going to be completely lost. So when setting goals is extremely important. And what kind of goals? Your goals have to be smart. That means they have to be specific. A goal has to be something which you can measure, which you can achieve, which is realistic and which is timely. So if I say that I want to lose 10 kg for the next 1 month, it's a very specific goal, but it's not really smart, right? Because I'm not going to achieve that. It's not
Correct.
realistic.
Yes.
And when you set a goal, you should have an action plan because a goal without a plan is just a wish. And then
Exactly. Yes.
action plan, so your goal should be, your focus should be on the effort and not really on the outcome. So I'm going to work hard at my job. I'm going to work hard at studying for the exam. The result of the exam doesn't really matter because it's no longer in my control. So we have to take charge of things which are in our control and let go of things which are beyond our control. And
True.
correct.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Sheryl, we would like to just hear your views and some of your suggestions on that, which you would like to share those incidents or the few cases that you have discussed or come across during these pandemic time.
Correct. So, like I told you earlier, I mean, we have seen so many people with increase in anxiety. So,
Right.
people who were anxious earlier have just kind of got more anxious and before. Because you have to
Correct.
be
Yes.
careful about everything, right? Everything that comes into your house, you have to sanitize, you have to clean,
Yes.
you have to keep it away, you're constantly washing hands. People who
Correct.
have suffering from obsessive compulsive disorder, that means they're constantly washing their hands even before the pandemic, it has just exacerbated.
Right.
Sometimes
Yes.
you also see people with other disorders like psychosis, or a lot of people who are abusing drugs or substances because they can't handle the situation. So
Correct.
there is an extreme. There, so India itself, we have about 1 in 7 of us who will develop some kind of psychiatric illness during our lifetime. That is the numbers in India. That number has increased by about 20 to 30% fold uh, with the onset of the pandemic. So we as psychiatrists are more concerned about the mental health pandemic rather than the corona pandemic. So
Yes.
there
Yes.
are so many of the people who are extremely anxious, and most of the psychiatrists are really working hard, psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, in trying to
Yes.
ease the anxiety of our patients.
Yes, there are so many, the anxiety issues are there. Then the fear psychosis, as you rightly said, OCD is another, the obsessive compulsive disorder that is on the rise now. So people who had OCD, the intensity of the problem has gone up, and there are so many youngsters these days developing this OCD. I don't know whether it is just due to the pandemic, or they are also on the verge of that psychiatric condition. But however, as you rightly said, I think I just pardon, yes,
Yeah.
Dr. Sheryl.
Can we have the next slide? I will like talk a little bit more about that.
All
About,
right. Yes. Yes.
extremely important. And like I said, this is a very right forum for us, because if we are able to take care of the stigma, then we have to ask. And what is ask? Can I have the next slide? One is be aware and alert about the symptoms. So if you are feeling any different from what you felt before, or your friend is feeling any different, or a family member is feeling any different, be alert and aware that this is a problem and you need to take treatment as early as possible. The treatment may be medication, the treatment may be just therapy. And the K, visit your neighborhood psychiatrist. It's extremely important. It's, like I said, it's a physical ailment, an ailment affecting the brain. So the more you kind of take away the aspect of stigma and say, no, I'm going to go and take help, we will be able to avoid a lot of, avoidable circumstances which are coming up nowadays, which could have been avoided.
Okay, okay. So it's a real good acronym that you have created. Ask. It is very apt and relevant to our today's scenario. And Dr. Sheryl, we have more than 80% of our viewers are our student community, and of course we have faculty and the general public. So as you rightly said, this is going to help them a lot. Hi, we have Dr. Vivek on live, and Dr. Sheryl, will come back to you soon. Hi, Dr. Vivek. Hi, Dr. Vivek. Can you hear us? Okay, I think there is some problem with the connectivity or some technical issues at Dr. Vivek's side. So, Dr. Sheryl, I would ask you one more thing about you know
It's one of the examples where when we plan everything very well and something can just go wrong. And
yeah,
this is
true.
when you kind of fall back on your resilience and say, okay, now how do I kind of break it down? That
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. So again, Dr. Sheryl, let me just quote one thing, that mental health, it is not a destination. It's a process. So how do you consider this particular the statement in today's scenario? So people
absolutely.
think that people think that it is something permanent, the positive the mental health, it should be there. Once you achieve, it should be there. So it should not deteriorate or go a little lesser, or it shouldn't be. But in true sense, we know that it is ever dynamic, it's keep changing. If you are fit today, you may have problems tomorrow. So in that way, if we look at it, it is a process. It's not then something that you achieved and then it is over. So what are your
Absolutely.
views on it, Doctor?
A very, very apt saying, like it's a process and not a destination. Like, life is again the same thing, right? Life is not about reaching somewhere, it's about enjoying the journey. So,
Correct.
in the same way, like you would contribute every day, make sure that you're taking care of your body by eating well, exercising well. You're taking care of your professional life by, being on time at work, completing your task given by your boss, or your student life by completing your assignments. In the same way, if you are more aware and conscious that the brain, our mind is part of your body, which you need to work on. And it's very, very simple. We shared about all the simple steps that we can do before earlier also I shared about the things that you can do to develop it on a daily basis. So by being mindful, if you're spending 5 minutes in mindfulness every day, it will it's part of the process. If you're surrounding yourself with positive people, it's part of the process. So you first and foremost is awareness that I need to work on this every day, like in a marriage. Right? You're married to
Yes.
somebody, the first day is amazing, the honeymoon period is over. If you're not going to work on your marriage on a day-to-day, or if you are a
Yes.
parent, you're not going. Parenting is a process, right? In my mother is still parenting me, so you can imagine it's a long process. It's something which you don't kind
True.
of give up. Same way,
Yes.
if you work on mental health, it's a good aspect.
Yes, that is what, as you said, if once you're a mother, your motherhood will never die, unless you die. So it's a continuous process. So everyone should work out on a day-to-day basis to sustain, you, or remain positive and keep up your mental, the health. And again, Dr. Sheryl, we are moving through the darkest moments of the life that humanity has ever seen. So yet we urge everyone to remain positive and to look out for the ray of light. So what is your view on it, how one should be striving towards remain positive, or how to the look out for the positive energies around him or her?
So, one aspect of looking out is to consciously look out for two things in the day, like I mentioned earlier about the gratitude journal. So, if you at the end of the day make a conscious effort that I'm going to write down two things that I was grateful for. Now, as a race or a thinking process, we're always trying to look out for what is going wrong, right? Because we want to survive. So the survival of the fittest, or a body is having a flight and fight mechanism. So we're always
Correct.
looking out. How do I survive?
Yes.
How do I manage the situation? So in the bargain, we're constantly looking out for what can go wrong, or we're more alert to what's going wrong, and we forget to look at what is going right. So even in the darkest times, there will be at least one thing in that particular day which could be right. So if we learn to consciously start focusing on it on a daily basis, then it will help in the process of helping us through this darkest time. But we also have to be aware that if you are having any signs and symptoms of depression or anxiety, now I would like to elaborate a little bit about that. See, what is depression? So everybody will say that अरे मैं तो हमेशा डिप्रेस्ड है यार और दिल से अरे क्या तू तो डिप्रेस्ड है you know आज मैं बहुत sad है. We use the word depression very loosely, but we have to understand that being sad and being depressed in a clinical way is two different things. So if you are feeling sad all the time, or you're feeling that you are not having the interest in things which interested you before, or you're having sleep disturbances, you're having appetite issues, you feel that your life is not worth living anymore, or you're feeling, no, my life has no hope, having suicidal thoughts, uh, because you feel life is not worth living anymore. And if you feel, no, a lot of times we have youngsters putting up very, very dark things on their social media accounts, or writing very dark and like a farewell note or a bye message to their friends, and the friends take it as kya yaar jo kya aisa senti ho raha hai, kind of a situation. But these are all alerting signs and symptoms of underlying depression. So that is something which we have to be alert about and be aware.
Yes, correct. Yes, yeah. Dr. Sheryl, can you just quickly just give us some signs, or where we need to be alarming at, in a layman's point of view? So, what are the signs and symptoms that what everyone should be looking out when and saying that there is a problem? Yes, you in your the loved ones, maybe it could be your friends or your family members, or someone it could be.
So let's look at it in three aspects. One is
Okay.
the mood. So if you find that your mood is sad all the time, or your mood is anxious all the time, or you're very, very irritable all the time. So it not necessarily be sadness. If somebody is constantly snapping, constantly getting angry for small, small things, and it will change from before. So when the mood changes, right? The second aspect is thinking. So negative thinking that this is not going
Yes.
to work. constantly ruminating or having the same thoughts coming again and again, or if your friend is experiencing hopelessness or saying, I can't do this, the extreme negative aspect. Sometimes people don't have any changes in mood, they don't have any changes in thoughts, but they just have physical changes, like they will have sleep disturbances. You're just not able to go to sleep. Or you have
Correct.
appetite changes. You feel that you're eating much, much more uh, than you're needing to, or you're eating much, much lesser. Uh, that's one of the aspects in behavior. And extremely, sometimes you have pain symptoms. So a lot of times we have patients who come with vague aches and pains. The pain, sometimes it's a headache, sometimes it's a joint pain, and they've got all the tests, all the investigations done, but they're not able to pick out a problem in an organ, and we forget like this is an organ which has got affected is the brain, because when the chemicals in our brain go low, we start perceiving pain also more. So the person is actually experiencing pain, and if we correct that and that pain is actually an underlying sign of depression. So when we correct that, automatically we will be able to change the way. So when you are seeing anybody around you having these symptoms, changes in mood, changes in thinking, changes in behavior, please reach out to a mental health professional. I would really want to point out about the suicidal thoughts again and again here. Do not take somebody telling you, I don't feel like living anymore, very lightly. So, what will you tell somebody? Your friend says, अरे यार मेरे को जीना नहीं है. So they say, अरे यार छोड़ ना, what is this? You have everything in your life. तेरा तो असाइनमेंट भी ठीक हो गया, तू पास हो गया, तेरे को अच्छे मार्क्स मिल गए, तेरे को गूगल में नौकरी लग गई, तेरी शादी होने वाली है. So we always kind of try to point out and tell them that how everything is nice around them and why you should not feel this way. But suicide is actually a very complex problem, and it's one of the signs of depression. So if जैसे हम लोग you make dal and suppose you don't put salt in it, how will the dal taste? Bland, right? And I can't tell you कि नहीं नहीं डॉक्टर मैरी आप सोचो इसमें नमक है और खाओ. Unless I put in the salt, it's not going to correct itself. In the same way, when I'm having depression or I'm having suicidal thoughts, if I don't correct that imbalance which is happening in my brain, it's going to be very, very bleak. When we have patients coming to us and we ask them, are you feeling suicidal? The family gets very offended. Why are you
Yes.
asking this question?
True.
Are you trying to put this thought into the person's mind? And we see the
Exactly.
the relief that the person gets when he tells, yes, I'm actually, because they're so scared to even express that thought, because when you tell somebody, if I tell my friend I don't want to live anymore, he will give me so much of gyan about it, right?
Correct.
Rather than
Yes. Yes.
hear me out and understand why I don't want to live anymore. And sometimes
True.
people who are depressed really don't know why they are depressed, because they think everything in their environment is perfect. But
Right.
it's because
Yes.
of the imbalance which is causing them to feel that way, and this is the time that we need to kind of take help.
Yes, correct, doctor. Yes, Dr. Sheryl, as you rightly said, most of the time the people who commit suicide, it's not that it happens totally, all on a sudden. So before they make the attempt, some or the other way they will convey to the near and dear ones. The only thing is that we fail to take it so seriously. We feel that okay, well, I say bolte rehte. So we often.
Suppose somebody is complaining of, suppose your friend is complaining of chest pain, right? And even
Correct.
if it is just gas, you will still rush the person to the casualty in the hospital thinking it's a heart attack.
Exactly. Yes,
वो then
exactly.
hygiene feel और सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा, right? But
Yes,
every time
yes,
you get a chest pain, you will think of heart attack. In the same way, suicidal thought is like an emergency in psychiatry. So you need to rush the person to a mental health.
exactly, doctor. I think, yes, the most of the people who have committed suicide, and if we happen to interact with the relatives or friends, I've heard many people saying that ये तो बोल रहा था. He was ashamed, or she was saying that when he said or when she said, we didn't take it that that much of importance we have not given. So this is often we come across such the cases, and we have heard so many people talking about it. Yet our people are not giving that much of alarming signs when they hear someone saying that, okay, I don't feel like living, I feel depressed, or there is nothing will happen even if I am not there. So these comments we take it very casually. We don't give any importance to it. Yes, Dr. Reni,
Yeah, good evening. We have been trying to get Dr. Vivek connected. He's been trying a lot, and we are trying to see if that matches. I think Dr. Vivek is back again. We'll try again to put him up through the screen. He's having some technical glitches, but hopefully we can make it up. But Dr. Sheryl, you have been really giving out such wonderful insights and things that most of the times we are aware of things around us, but we just take it in a very underlying, low-lying thinking that it's okay to manage, it's life, let's go on. But these are pertinent issues which needs to be addressed at the right time, because only when you address it at the right time, you can really take it up and think what are the corrective measures that can be done so that we'll be able to face the challenges that come ahead in a more positive manner. Many a times we don't have that mental strength of mind that to face them in a very positive manner. So probably these small snippets will really help us to take this through a wonderful, more, step ahead or a path ahead. We're just trying to get Dr. Vivek connected. Let's see if that works through. But nevertheless, Dr. Vivek has been really trying to couple of times, and we have been having a session talk with him as to how we can get connected. But maybe you can continue, so we'll just try putting through Dr. Vivek if
yes,
that's possible.
yes. And I hope and pray that Dr. Vivek also should be joining, because otherwise we are going to lose his expertise, and a golden chance to hear from Dr. Vivek. Yes, Dr. Sheryl, I would like to ask you one more thing. When it comes to health, we often say that prevention is better than cure. Okay, so even in the mental health condition, we strictly fall back to this saying. And what is what? Hi,
You,
Dr. Vivek.
Dr. Vivek, can you unmute yourself?
Can have Dr. Vivek, if you could unmute, then we'll be able to hear, hear us. Okay. Yeah. I
Okay.
think we'll get in touch with
So, yeah, Mary,
Yeah.
like you were,
Yes, you
sorry.
can. Yeah. So I was saying that we often say that prevention is better than cure. So when it comes to mental health, what are your a few uh, key points that you can share with the our viewers? The key and alarming points that every individual should be looking out for.
Everything right for my physical body? Would it
Right.
ensure that today when I just take my first step out of my house, I might not trip and fracture my leg, right? So yes,
Correct. Yes.
is good. So what do we do? Like I said right in the beginning of the thought, there are various factors which go to develop mental illnesses. If, like you said, if a genetic preponderance, your personality. So we can work on the actions and our thoughts. We can work on our positive mental health by doing all the things that we discussed earlier. But we still can develop a problem because it is
Okay.
physical. So you can still develop depression, anxiety. You can still have bipolar mood disorder. You can still have schizophrenia. So please understand that this is not something which you can, think away and say that why I'm kind of going back again and again on that narrative is many a times because it's a thought process. Everybody will tell you, okay, you should have thought more positive or you should think more positive. But if somebody who's actually having a psychiatric illness, they cannot think positive because the chemical required to think positive is not there or just less.
Exactly. Yes.
Once we correct that, automatically things will get. There is no
Yes.
fix that if you're on medications, the medications will be for life, or you will get addicted to the medications.
Right.
So these
Yes.
are wrong information. There are certain disorders or certain people who do need medications for life, but the medication is not to make them sleep all day, because that will defeat the purpose of the medication, right? The
Yes.
idea of the medication is to achieve socio-occupational functioning. So you should be able to go
Yes.
back and work, should be able to socialize. So that's the whole purpose of the medication that all psychiatrists are working on. So we are
Yes.
doing all those things, right? And
Yes. Yes.
usually we give medications for 6 months to 8 months, and then gradually taper it off and stop medications for depression or anxiety. There are certain disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar mood disorder, which may require medications for a longer period of time.
When it comes to this, yes, Dr. Sheryl, when it comes to this, pandemic scenario, we cannot neglect our elderly people. So they are also, I firmly believe that they are also vibrant energy when it comes to our, the senior citizens, our elderly people. So have you come across any such cases, or during this scenario, or what are your experiences with the elderly people during this pandemic?
So that's a really unfortunate lot of age group who's suffering this situation, because most of the elderly also have never seen a situation like this in their lifetime. Those elderly individuals who are staying by themselves, the parents, the children are abroad, or children are working in some other city, are the most hit. One is because they don't have any help. So, you had somebody coming home helping you, so you were interacting with somebody, and now they don't have any kind of help or maids or anything. So, one is a physical uh, toil that they have to do to carry out their day to day chores, the fear that they have to step out of the home and get their groceries or get their stuff. And because they're the more vulnerable population, they have to be much, much more careful. So, yes, there is a lot of problems when the elderly are staying alone. Then they become extremely lonely, because the time that they would step out in the evening and sit with their group of friends, or their time of visit to their churches or their temples or their mosques, everything has stopped. So, with the decrease in the interaction with people around them, a lot of people are having a lot of anxiety. A lot of anxiety that when will I see my child again? My son is in the US. I don't know when he'll be able to travel and come. And I had a lady last week itself who was extremely anxious because her children were in the US, where the situation is not good anyway. And she was all alone here, and she was so fearful that what if something happens to me? My children will not be there, or I can't see my children. Will I be able to see my children again? A lot of elderly are also having, those especially who are suffering from dementia and other issues, are having a deterioration, because again there is not much interaction. They were going for therapy before, they were doing occupational therapy, they were going to daycare centers where they were working on their cognitive abilities, and now because of the lockdown they can't, they're staying at home. So yes, there is increased anxiety, increased disturbances in their thought process. So we as a society really need to help them out. So in your society, if you have some elderly uncle or aunt, try to at least do a Zoom call with them or a WhatsApp video call with them. If you have a
Right.
neighbor, make sure that you kind of provide them with the groceries or bring their daily,
Yes.
weekly vegetables and give it to them. You
Yes.
can A lot of youngsters can actually teach the elderly. Like my son taught my mother how to use the Zoom calls, or
Yes.
how to get onto those things, because it's a good time for them to start interacting, having Zoom calls. They can learn so many new things. So the
Exactly.
elderly
Yes.
functioning, the internet is a web, right? You have so many courses available. So they can pick up those courses to stimulate their brain, so that they don't kind of fall back in their cognitive ability.
Yes, 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 Doctor. That was really a valid point. And we know that we are so many senior members in our society who are staying alone. So it is giving difficult and a tough time to them, and especially when you are alone, and that too in such a situation where you are get to hear a lot of panicking newses and the negative stories that you get to hear. And if you're all alone, cooked up in our house or something, it is going to create a lot of tension and worries. Yes,
And then they're all the time watching all the possible news on WhatsApp,
exactly.
watching
Yes,
all the news on the TV, which is not really helping. So I advise them to kind of, take off time from those information. You don't have to go through every WhatsApp forward.
exactly.
You cannot
Yes,
have to watch everything which is happening on the news, because too much of negative information is also going to be a negative overload, right? So
true.
you need to take
Yes.
time out from those aspects.
Yes, so now they can't move out, otherwise they find out their own ways to engage themselves, like going for, a kitty party or going for a walk or exercise and managing their own, their life in a possible way. Now, we can't allow them to do it. I'm sure that is creating a lot of emotional, the toll on all our, the elderly people. So, as you rightly said, we youngsters or the children, I mean, younger children, or the other people at the society can help them out. I mean, support can be a real good support to our the senior citizens, and that will be giving them a lot of comfort to our the elderly people in our society. Yes, Dr. Sheryl, thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable comments and sharing a lot of I mean insights with our viewers. So it is, we can say there is a saying: when there are tears, you are a shoulder. When there is a pain, you are a medicine. When there is a tragedy, you are a hope. I'm sure when it comes to psychiatrist, you both. Today, unfortunately, we couldn't hear Dr. Vivek because of the technical the glitches. But I'm sure some of the other time later we will get to hear from Dr. Vivek. So I know that you as a leading psychiatrist, we are hope to many individuals, not only from Mumbai, across the borders. There are so many people trust on you. They look out you as a ray of hope. So, as a psychiatrist, if you have any more, views or anything, suggestions or anything, as key points, you can share with our viewers.
So, like I said, that try to bring in structure into your life on a daily basis, because everything around is uncertain. The only thing certain is what you can control. So, if you have a thought process, try to work on things that are in your control and let go of things that are beyond your control. Go to sleep on time, have a balanced diet, try to incorporate exercise, do activities to build your resilience. So practice gratitude, practice mindfulness, socialize with your friends on Zoom calls and WhatsApp calls, and take out time for yourself. Self care is most important. In Bible there is a saying: the most important commandment is love your neighbor as you love yourself. So that actually
Yes,
means that you have to love yourself first before you love your neighbor. You just tend to
yes,
think about loving your neighbor, but you forget about the aspect where God has said to love yourself. So you love yourself, focus on what you can change, and if you find that you're unable to handle the situation, there is no shame, there is no stigma in reaching out for help. Help is
yes.
available, you just have to reach out.
Yes. So again, Dr. Sheryl, as you rightly said, the quote from the Bible, it's also saying that your body is the temple of God. So we all have that responsibility to taking care of our body, as how we try to be serene and holy as you enter the church or a temple or a mosque. Similarly, that is how one has to take care of the body, and mind and the spirit. Yes, Dr. Sheryl, thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you, Dr. Vivek, though we had the technical glitches, so we couldn't hear you from your end. But we at PCR are highly grateful to both of
Yes,
you for spending your precious time with us. And I'm sure this the session is going to help the many of our viewers tremendously to remain positive and take care of themselves. Thank you, Dr. Vivek, and thank you, Dr. Sheryl, for your valuable time and your resourceful interaction with us today. Thank you. Thank you, viewers. Thank you for staying connected to us, and stay tuned to PCR Live always. Thank you.